so I hope he won't mind, but every once in a while one of you share with me a piece of information that you think I ought to read or that I asked for. And this was one that a faculty member here made a presentation a few years back when the Council of Higher Education met on this campus. And I thought it was particularly appropriate in light of the governor's comments because the essence of what it's about, I think, is a chance for us to be preserving what it is that is most important about higher education while at the same time creating new directions. But I just want to say it to you as a reminder because it says so well for me what we are as a university, and I think keeping it up front will help us take all of the opportunities in the reform plan and put them with what it is that we do and look at ways that we will do what we do even more effectively. Let me read it. It talks about the operant views regarding functions of a university. It says, in the historic sense, university is a community of scholars and students committed to providing free exchange of ideas in pursuit of knowledge, something that we have to be. The university, secondly, is an institution of socialization intended to bring minorities and marginalized citizens into the mainstream of society. And finally, the university provides students with specialized skills and organizational tools useful in the marketplace. And perhaps one of the greatest questions facing this university and many others in the context of the many initiatives that are a part of the state's reform plan for higher education is how to balance those three roles, how to define our mission in ways that we can do each of those things and do them well, and that there is no question that an educated workforce is a more productive one, and that it is in our best economic interest to educate the populace, and that we would hope what we do makes persons more well-rounded, more creative, more tolerant, more whole. In other words, by continuing to emphasize the primary role of a university, but to consider the context and the ways in which we do it, to do it with greater quality, and with quality being defined, my words, this was not in this person's writing, as both effective and efficient. By continuing to emphasize primary role in seeking and expanding human knowledge, the university can also, at the same time, contribute to the socialization and training of its constituency. In making better and more responsible human beings, we teach our students to participate more fully in the community, including the marketplace. We give them the tools for life. And perhaps one of the greatest challenges that we face as a university, as do all universities, is how to take this mandate, if you will, and put with it all of those things that make a university what it is, a place of knowledge, a place of learning, and for us to be the definers so that we end up not only contributing to the marketplace opportunities for our students, but also that we hold sacred the opportunity that learning in and of itself is something to be treasured, and the cultivation of the human mind is essential in all that we do, for ultimately people having the greatest workplace opportunities. With just a few modifications of that, I want to acknowledge Larry Snyder, and I hope, Larry, you don't mind that I quoted from you, but that was part of his testimony to the Council of Higher Education, and I thought he said it well as a reminder for us. There are several things about this assembly that are a little bit of tradition, and we will be attending to one of them shortly. And there's one that I want to do because last year's brand new person on this campus, it really did strike me and made me realize something of who we are as a community at Western. We say that we're a special place. We talk about our caring ways. We talk about personal touches. We talk about the rich traditions and values. And we also have very specially a characteristic that a lot of universities don't have, and that is that we have so many faculty who have defined who this institution is and who come here and who stay here and who make it their life's work. Today, many of us have had the pleasure of meeting some 47 new faculty. I believe there are a few more still to come. And it was exciting as we welcomed them. There was an excitement about it, the differences that they bring in terms of being from all over the country and out of the country, and also a sense in all of us of wanting to be sure that these new faculty not only bring the new and the exciting and add to the dimensions of who we are, but that also all of us that are here recognize the importance of helping to give to those faculty some of the richness of tradition, the sense of values, the kinds of things that are part of the history of Western. And so for those of you that are new faculty, and you will identify them as you go to the reception afterwards, they're the only ones who have the non-cheat badges, not the stick-on ones, but the ones with the pins. I hope you will introduce yourself to them. And I hope that for the new faculty, you'll kind of glance around in the next few moments and see something that's pretty astonishing. And that is the richness of experience and lifelong commitment of the faculty and staff in this institution. President Meredith last year asked the question about how many years people have been here. And if you'll permit me, I want to do that again, because it's sort of like the question of when we ask at graduation each year, how many of our students are first-generation college students, and we find out that 2/3 of them are. What we have is very special in terms of the heritage of faculty who are dedicated to this institution. So for just a minute to get a sense of who we are, those of you that have been here up to 5 years, would you just raise your hands? You can all look around, you don't have to just look forward. Those of you that have been here from 5 to 10 years, raise your hand. 10 to 20 years, raise your hand. Well, everybody who's been here more than 20 years, please stand. Wow. Stay standing. If you've been here 25 years, stay standing. How about if you've been here 30 years, stay standing? Isn't that tremendous? The richness of experience and commitment. How about anybody still standing at 35? Years. How many? 35? 37. Isn't that powerful? Thank you all. Thank you. So for those of you who are new, you're coming to a very experienced faculty with lots of wonderful opportunities to gain from those strong traditions. Selected as a university organizer in the area of teaching, research and creative activities, and public service. We actually recognize many more, including those nominated at the department and college levels. These winners traditionally are formally recognized today. The nominations for award recipients may be submitted by students and colleagues. Winners of the college awards are presented to a university awards committee for consideration. And this committee is composed of 3 alumni, Student Government Association president, one other representative from the Student Government Association, the chair of the Faculty Senate, chair of the Academic Council, and the vice president for academic affairs who serves as chair of the committee. So you can see that it's quite an honor to be chosen from one of these awards, and I'm delighted to present this year's winner to you. Last year I discovered that the job I'm going to go back to as Vice President for Academic Affairs, I got to do half of this and the President did the other half. And so I thought, well, now how am I going to do this year? And since I don't wear a hat, literally, I decided that I would put several of my colleagues to work from the Executive Council who offer and are part of working with me in so many ways. And so I'm going to ask for their assistance one by one. The first award winner that I'm going to announce is for excellence in teaching, Dr. Larry Snyder. So Dr. Snyder, come on up here and let them look at you and make you real uncomfortable while I get to tell them all about you. Before I told you about him. Dr. Snyder is an assistant professor of philosophy and religion. He's acclaimed by his peers and his students alike as one of our most outstanding faculty. He joined the faculty at Western in August of 1990. He has been nominated 5 of 7 years for his college's Excellence in Teaching Award, and this past year was selected by both College and University Awards Committee as the outstanding teacher for this academic year campus-wide. He said that the receipt of this honor comes as a surprise to him, but to those who sit in his classrooms and those who have worked with him, it is indeed no surprise. Dr. Snyder encourages his students to accomplish things far beyond their perspective of themselves. One student writes, "If it were not for him, I would not even be doing this thesis or pursuing a degree in religious studies." Another writes, "His door is always open. I also appreciate his demeanor. He truly treats all students with respect." And yet another student says, "His character is the epitome of what this university stands for. He loves his field, and he makes students love it as well." One of Dr. Snyder's colleagues says of him, "Dr. Snyder is an outstanding teacher, that rare combination of one who knows his field, is able to communicate it effectively to his students, and to create great enthusiasm for them in the process." Larry Snyder, it's my honor and that of Dr. Jim Ramsey, who will present you with the university's award for excellence in teaching for the current academic year. Michael Seidler, get up here. Dr. Michael Seidler received this year's award for excellence in research and creativity. Michael Seidler is associate professor in the Department of Philosophy and Religion. He came to Western in 1986. And during his tenure here, he has attained both a national and international reputation as an outstanding scholar researcher. His colleagues have brought to our attention some of the most significant of his accomplishments. He has published an extensive list of books, articles, and reviews, while still maintaining a heavy teaching load in philosophy, both lower and upper division levels. What may not be apparent to those outside of his field may be the extraordinary breadth and influence of his research. His articles, for example, are placed in a variety of the very top philosophical journals, ones devoted to meeting the needs of diverse scholarly communities. His work is distinguished by 3 earmarks of an elite group of scholars. He is published with Oxford University Press, the foremost press internationally in his field. He is regularly invited to present papers at the most prestigious conferences both in the United States and abroad, and his work is reprinted in the best collections of articles in the history of philosophy, collections that are used as standard text for courses, including those at top international universities. Despite all these achievements, Dr. Seidler doesn't have the slightest hint of arrogance about him. He's accessible to his students, and he's excited with his participation in their education. He can simplify most difficult matter without any slipping into pose of condescension whatsoever. He's confident of his ability, but he bears them with an easy humility of spirit. Dr. Seidler steadfastly tries to integrate his scholarship with his professional responsibilities locally. Not only does he continue to develop new courses for his department, expanding the curriculum greatly, but he also serves on a variety of local community and advisory boards, not only on campus, but in local hospitals. He is asked to serve as an outside reader for PhD students who are doing dissertations in his area of specialty. and in particular, he served in this capacity for schools in both Canada and Finland. He not only publishes with top presses, but he also serves as a manuscript advisory and reviewer for a list of the most prestigious presses internationally. Indeed, Michael Seidler is well deserving of the Excellence in Research and Creativity Award, which will be presented by my colleague, Fred Hensley. When I learned who the award winners were going to be the very next day, I went looking for them, and they both happened to have offices down the hall from each other, and didn't have any problem finding them. It wasn't even on a day when I would have expected them to be around. So there's a lot of truth about their accessibility, and the same thing is certainly true about Dr. Erica Brady, who is this year's recipient of the Public Service Award. In August of 1990, Erica Brady joined the faculty of the Department of Modern Languages and Intercultural Studies. It certainly did not take Dr. Brady very long to become involved in the campus, the community, and national groups' activities and organizations. One of her colleagues says of Dr. Brady, her logical mind, her even temperament, her ability to be congenial without losing the sharpness of her insights, and her wide learning make her a candidate for most any committee or task force that one would care to organize. In 1996, just to give you some idea, she was on the Technology and Equipment Committee in the department, an ADA representative, a Teaching and Review Committee. She was on college committees and more university committees that I'm going to take the time to mention. Off campus, Dr. Brady gave 14 presentations statewide for the Kentucky Humanities Council Lecture Series. She also served on the planning committee for a Crossroads conference on the Center for Popular Music at Middle Tennessee State University. She served as planning consultant for the Terra Museum of Art. She also was a part of the Fund for Folk Culture Grants Review panel, the Lila Wallace Reader's Digest Foundation out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and she was elected to the executive board of the American Folklore Society. I know indeed that Dr. Brady shows up just about everywhere, because for those of you that had the pleasure last weekend of bringing your lawn chairs and sitting on the lawn over at the Kentucky building, I was surprised when between, there was gospel, and then there were the fender benders, and then there was the bluegrass music, and who was this gorgeous lady with the big straw hat and her wonderful hair plaited down, who came up and served as the sort of hostess for the event, right? And Erica was right in there with that concert and very much at home with it, and just another continuation of all of the service things that she does. Erica Brady, congratulations. I don't know if it went unnoticed, it probably didn't, but this was a sort of an extraordinary year for these awards. We can't figure out yet what happened, but somehow or another, Potter College managed to do an end run. So I congratulate Potter College as well, Dean Lee, and I have already had notice that most of the colleges plan to try to make sure that doesn't happen again. They're welcome to try. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anderson, for your help. There's another group that we want to recognize today for a little bit different reason, and they are distinguished university professors, who are the other four gentlemen sitting on this end. In 1995, the Western Border Regions adopted a plan that would give special recognition to faculty members who have given long and distinguished service to the university. As a result, a process was established to identify a select group of faculty who met this criterion, long service, distinguished service, and who would be identified as distinguished university professor. Up to 2 individuals a year may be selected, and those selected may hold the status for a period of 5 years. 2 were selected in 1995-96, and last year the initial 2, and this year 2 more distinguished professors were added, so we now have 4 such distinguished individuals. Although each person was recognized at a Board of Regents meeting, we thought that it would also be appropriate that they receive recognition before the faculty as a whole, and we will find a way to do that appropriately in the future. We want to do that recognition today, and also one of the ideas that came about at commencement was that our former president, Dr. Meredith, felt that there ought to be some way that you could figure out who the distinguished university professors were in the processional. So as a result of that, you're going to have a medallion to hang around your neck. And we're also going to give you shortly, it isn't ready yet, a container that will hold it in your office so that when individuals come to your office for consultation or visitation or whatever, they will be properly reminded that you are a distinguished university professor, and we know that that will give you great joy. From the class of 1996, Dr. Jackson, come on up here. Yeah, man of 36 years. Dr. Carlton Jackson. Dr. Jackson is a professor of history, and you're going to help, Jerry? Dr. Wilder, how's this? Has been a professor of history at Western since 1961. He received his undergraduate education at Birmingham Southern, and he holds a doctorate from the University of Georgia. He is known as an outstanding teacher and a particularly prolific author who has published books ranging on topics from Zane Grey to Hattie McDaniel to the Scotch-Irish in America. Dr. Jackson is campus Fulbright advisor, and he has served as a visiting scholar in Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and Latin America. If you are interested in doing a Fulbright, this is the man you need to come and talk to. He remains actively engaged as a scholar and indeed is a worthy recipient of University Distinguished Professor, and we would like to present to you, Dr. Jackson, the medallion. If you see these people without their medallions at commencement, you need to ask them where they are. Next, Daniel L. Ronker. Deborah Wilkins, our University Counsel, will assist. Dr. Ronker is a professor of psychology who has been at Western since 1976, when he was brought here as an experimental psychologist. He received his baccalaureate degree from Thomas More College and his doctorate from Kansas State University. Since coming to Western, Dr. Ronker has earned an outstanding reputation as a demanding but caring teacher, while maintaining a high profile as a productive researcher, particularly in the field of visual perception. He has been repeatedly recognized for his excellence in teaching and research, and he is a fine example of a well-rounded university faculty member. It also is reassuring, Dr. Jackson, for others to know that you might make it before 36 years. We only had it 2 years, but Dan Ronker is a good example that long service and distinguished service can happen to you earlier. Congratulations, Dan Ronker. From the class of 1997, we have first Dr. Gary Dillard. Dr. Dillard is a professor of biology who came to Western in 1968. He holds an undergraduate degree from Southern Illinois University and the PhD from North Carolina State University. Based on student ratings, Dr. Dillard has consistently been found to be one of the most outstanding teachers in Ogden College. As a botanist, his research has focused on freshwater algae, and he has published a multi-volume definitive reference work on freshwater algae found in the U.S. Southeast. He also provides regular and substantial and impactful university and public service. It's my pleasure to recognize Dr. Gary Dillard. Last year was a year of interesting decisions. Potter won 3 awards, and then Ogden turned around and won both of the university distinguished professor positions, and both in the same department. Well, the second one, also from biology last year, was Dr. Robert D. Hoyt. Dr. Hoyt is a professor of biology who came to Western in 1969. He received a baccalaureate degree from the University of Central Arkansas and a doctorate from the University of Louisville. He is highly regarded as a biology teacher for both majors and non-majors, and that says a lot. And he has the respect of students and peers alike. He maintains an active research program on the early life of fishes, which has earned him both national and international recognition, including repeated summer appointments at a major research center in Scotland. He is an outstanding teacher scholar and a worthy distinguished university professor. Dr. Hoyt. Thank you, Dr. Hoyt. Now, I have just been reminded that I forgot something very important. And the 3 of you didn't say a word. One of the very nice things that comes for the individuals who receive the University Faculty Awards is not only that beautiful silver bowl, but also a small token of financial appreciation. And they weren't going to let me get out of here with it. So, Wendell, come on up. These awards are provided by our University Alumni Association. Would you care to make a comment or two?
Well, it's just a pleasure on behalf of the Alumni Association and the over 60,000 alumni that we have at Western to honor our faculty, and particularly these ones that have won this award this year. So it's our pleasure to present this to the 3 winners this year.
So if you, gentleman and lady, would come back up again. Dr. Snyder and Dr. Brady, Dr. Seidler. We're delighted to give you your check, and I want you to know this is the first time. Thanks very much to Dr. Ramsey and the people in finance and all over the university. Fred, it almost took an act of Congress, but we have a real live check. It isn't buried inside your paycheck. You know, you don't have to figure out how many deductions were taken out. It's a real live check. So, and it cashes. Congratulations. You have been patient and courteous and sitting for a long time. And so if we can move right along for just a few minutes more and take this opportunity then to have some good old time socializing out back where all the refreshments are. Lots of things going on at the university right now. Somebody told me that this was going to be a very simple and quiet summer. They were mistaken. But it has been an interesting one. And of course, I know that all of you are looking forward to the next week or so. In fact, next week, when we will be bringing 3 of the 4 finalists for the presidential search onto campus. And then a week after that will be the last one. So we will soon have a new university president. There are some things that I'm sure that all of us will be looking toward with that new president. And if I had to say one thing that's pretty evident that will be at the top of the list, it will be more involvement in strategic planning processes that are going to help us address some of the definitions, some of the priorities, some of the directions in terms of where we're headed. There are also a number of things that are underway at the present time, and I want to just mention some of them to you so that at least you know they're coming up. There are a couple of major studies being done in the university externally. One of them on the university as a whole by a group contracted by our Board of Regents with the intent to provide a helpful external look that will be useful to all of us and the new president as we begin to assess where we're going and strength of where we are and ways to get there. And there will be a similar study looking at the whole of athletics as it relates to our university mission and our future. There also will be some major efforts underway this fall among the faculty in particular to look at review criteria. The governor referred to programs of distinction. Being a program of distinction does not mean that those are the only things that we do with excellence. In fact, if we don't strive to do them with excellence, maybe we shouldn't be doing them at all. But it is clear that we're going to be asked to look at criteria in ways that help us define where we need to be putting resources, where we may be able to shift resources, and how are we going to be what it is that we need to be as a university and want to be. There are some monies that are a part of that new reform package, and we are greatly blessed in having the opportunity to work to get some of the incentive dollars that are there for Western. I think there's about $1.4 million in incentive dollars that will come to us to support outstanding programs, either through direct matching dollars or through our own reallocation efforts. Many of you have lived through reallocation through much of your higher ed career, and if there was one thing that I suspect will be with us, even if this is your first year, I trust 20 years later it will still be with us, and that is increasingly considering reallocation. Are we putting resources where they need to be? Are there places that we need to put them? How are we going to make those decisions? What criteria? I want to say to you that I do not see this as a threatening process at all. I truly do not. And I hope that we can go into it with the idea that it's an opportunity for us to say the best things about us that we want to say and show how good we are at what we do. And in those instances where we may not be as good as we wish we were or think we can be, we can use this kind of analysis as an opportunity, I think, to gain resources in areas where what we need to do matches our institutional mission and goals. There are other things that we'll be looking at this year, one being some element of Gen Ed. I know the general education's been looked at before and not so long ago revised, but one of the great difficulties is determining the extent to which we can document intended outcomes. Technology will be everywhere we turn. The governor mentioned the Commonwealth Virtual University. Dr. Anderson and I, and especially Dr. Anderson, have had the opportunity, actually we're kind of pleased that we managed to seize the opportunity to help author some of what the regionals and as well as U of L and U of K and the community colleges will be looking at as a template for virtual university in the state. And the way it's being structured is that each campus will be able to get a draft and spend serious review time among the faculty on the campus trying to help shape what that might look like in the coming year. Deferred maintenance has to continue to be a major challenge for this university. We never, ever sit at the table to look at resources and needs that we don't have to come to grips with the fact that for our university, one of the major challenges is going to be how to manage somewhere between a $16 and $25 million deferred maintenance need on this campus, and many of you could attest to various aspects of that need. There are other kinds of things that are going to affect us this year and probably shape our thinking and our planning. Some of it associated with the fact that the notion that higher education is not necessarily anymore the sole provider of knowledge in much the way that we have been in the past, and what does that mean for the way in which we do our job. Some of it in the fact that what we put in and reporting on what we put in our efforts may not carry the weight anymore that it would carry if we were able to say what were the results. And of course, some challenging even of the way in which we organize our work. It's clear that ways that we do our work and doing them differently so that we are more effective and efficient will be something that every unit on this campus, academic and non-academic, will have high on its agenda. There are some who would question whether there's a magic in the fact that courses meet for 15-minute sitting periods, or 3 times a week, or 14 weeks, or even 3 semester-hour units. And you could question some of those same kinds of things in any field. We will be spending time this year looking at many of those kinds of directions. I want to share with you just very briefly a couple of other things. We will be looking at parking on this campus. I've been told that the worst problem on any campus, always, the most controversial one, is parking. One of the things that I discovered from Ms. Wilkins was that as interim president, I had the opportunity on August 15th to sign a continued contract that gives a record the license to come on campus and tow. I did not sign that contract. I instead have met with the Parking and Traffic Committee, who are very supportive and have agreed to undertake in very short order a fairly comprehensive study to use some of their good ideas on what we can do on this campus, not only to have reasonable parking for faculty and staff and students, but what we can also do it in a way that does not have to alienate half the people who come to this campus as a result of it. I find it very bothersome to see the tow truck prowling the campus, especially during times when business is to be most lucrative. I know that many of you have spent your own dollars to go down and bail somebody out who got towed. There's no discrimination in our towing policy. We towed senators and mayors and parents and homecoming queens and faculty and people here to hire our students. We absolutely are indiscriminate, but there must be a better way we can do it. Those of you that have reserved parking spaces will find that you still have them, but the towing policy will be enforced a little bit differently, and personal letters are coming to each of you to give you some options on that. I just simply think we're smart enough to figure out another way of doing it without having to alienate half the world. It is legendary now about the towing and parking on this campus, and there must be a way we can improve our image. We say we care, we say we have a personal touch, and we say we are user-friendly. Maybe we can make our parking practices match that. To do new things all the time, and to do them differently and better. And so it's only reasonable that we also find ways to provide the support that each of us needs to learn that. I hope that you will take advantage of that opportunity, and for those of you that work with staff, for the first time we will have an employee training and development program. Within 10 days or so, everyone on staff will be getting a catalog of some 130 hours, and it also provides the opportunity for you in your units to ask for training to be scheduled that fits your particular need. You also know that as a result of the changes in the Reform Act, that there is a new tuition remission benefit plan. You've always been able to get 6 undergraduate hours and 3 hours at Western in any semester without tuition charge. What it means now is that you will be able to get 6 hours per semester for 3 semesters a year at any post-secondary institution in the state of Kentucky. And by the same token, anyone employed in any post-secondary institution in the state of Kentucky will be able to take those same hours with us. So we don't quite know what that will mean by enrollments and dollars, but we think it provides an opportunity. There will be on October 23rd, for those of you that had to bring your daughters to work, if you've got a son, you can bring your son to work on October 23rd, and maybe next year we'll bring them both to work in the same day. Also, in the area of institutional advancement, you need to know that lots of things are going on in terms of looking at new sources of funding that will support the many efforts of this university. The waiting for a new president has caused some of those efforts to pause for 3 or 4 months, but I do want you to know that private giving is up. More importantly, a plan is in place and being worked right now that I think ultimately will enable us in this university to gain the benefits of some of the kinds of private support that we have never really asked for at Western. Universities all over the country with far less to speak about, far less claim to some of the strengths and exciting programs and tremendous achievements that this university has to offer. Many of those universities have found effective ways of connecting their needs with those of alumni and donors who choose to get involved and find it exciting to support what's happening on those campuses. So I'm confident that you're going to see some exciting things happening in institutional advancement that will make a difference in supporting your own work. In information technology, we are expanding every day. The student fee that was added has already enabled that division to move in increasing the capacity of labs. We're also working on other kinds of areas that would enable us to do more in the utilization of those technologies now that our infrastructure is being built. We've had dramatic increases in our interactive television enrollment, and I also know that many of you enjoy the benefits of that technology at home as well. I do. In our student affairs, one of the fun things in this role is I've learned some new things. I didn't know, for example, that our Greeks donated 17,000 hours of community service last year and raised $80,000 for charitable organizations. And I found it exciting, and I find it exciting that Student Affairs this year will be unveiling the plans for the service learning that has been being planned on this campus for some time. Lots of things happening in our public safety department. I told Horace Johnson one day that I read in the paper we were a training site for people who were police officers riding bicycles, and I thought it was wonderful. And I suggested that the Ag School might want to loan our police officers horses, and using the research in New York City for the close personal contact, we could also be a campus unique with the police officers on horses. I haven't gotten much positive back from Horace yet. He said it wouldn't be cost saving, and I said, well, that would be okay, it would be personal, and he said, well, they had to figure out the cleanup part of it first, so we will see what comes. And there are many other wonderful things happening, and I've been warned that I'm not allowed to spend this over my share of time emphasizing the academic side. But I want to tell you, I hope you will read the brag sheet. There's also a little red notebook, 3-ring, that each of your deans and department heads have. And what it is a 2-pager that many of you wrote about your programs. I think you would be astonished and excited and so proud to know some of the things that are going on with some of your colleagues on this campus. I knew, for example, already that journalism had won the Hearst Award every year for the last 8 years, and I know that their students have done so many outstanding things. But I didn't know in geography and geology that over the last 10 years, the faculty have made 65 research trips to 37 countries spanning 6 continents, with the students benefiting. And not only that, during the same period in that department, students authored or co-authored 203 publications and made 166 presentations of their research work. I didn't know, for example, that in the physics department, in the past 25 years, 35 of their graduates have gone on to earn doctorates, and 9 more of them are PhD candidates. They are making a difference in influencing what's happening in the field through that particular event. I also did not know, for example, that our theater department, I don't watch a lot of television, but I thought, we've got some recent grads in films like Men in Black, Time to Kill, Sabrina, Frasier, Star Trek Voyager, LA Law, Melrose Place, Law and Order, ER, Murder, She Wrote, General Hospital, Wings, and a former grad who's VP of the largest talent agency in the world, William Morris, and I thought, aha, the next time theater asks for any resources, we're going to help them contact those alums, because I bet you they can get lots of support. You might be excited to know that in the College of Business, which took an MBA program that was kind of sitting there, kind of dead, and has moved it in just this past year, so that they have recently dealt with their 200th applicant. Also, when you look at rankings across the board on this campus of journals, I was excited that in both economics and finance department, that the quality of the research publication on our campus exceeds that of any other university in the state and most in the region, except for the doctoral faculty at the University of Kentucky. And I got to tell you, Jim, when the governor was talking, I really wanted to say to him, you don't have to go that far to look at some points of excellence in research. We've got people here discovering new knowledge, and we've got people doing research here that will knock your socks off. And we probably have more people, more students at this university in the sciences who have the opportunity to participate, actively engaged in research and be paid as student workers doing it than most universities that you could find around the country. People do not know that about this university. There are a lot of other things. The fact that in the psychology department, for example, in the past 10 years, they've enjoyed 100% pass rate on the national certification exam, and nationally that rate is 70% for specialist degree people and PhD people. Now think about it. We're master's program. We're 100% for 10 years as compared to universities with specialists and doctorates. Other things, it's just like our cadets in our OTC finishing 11 percentage points above the national average at the summer camp practices. It's like the fact that I didn't know that the industrial hygiene option in environmental science in Ogden College is only the second program in the nation to receive full accreditation. We have one of the highest acceptance rates to medical and dental and pharmacy school of anybody in the state of Kentucky and surrounding states. And for example, in ag, we have a deal with Auburn University to take so many students from, or at least allow so many students from the state of Kentucky. In the last 15 years, more students are accepted from Western than any other university in the state of Kentucky. In fact, 1/3 of all the students in Kentucky this year going to veterinary school came from Western. I didn't know, for example, that we have a leaf composting project. And to me, every leaf gathered by this city of Bowling Green, all those leaves are composted at our farm, and it doesn't save thousands of dollars, it saves hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and it preserves landfill space, and it serves as a model where cities from all over the country come to look at it, and it saves money on your and my taxes. It's a way that the research work of this university is giving back. We've got, I could go on. I feel from the eyes in my back I can't say any more about it. I hope that you will take a look in the Red Book. And one of the things we don't do well enough in universities, not just in academics, but in every area, but especially in academics, is that we don't do the kind of job we need to do in helping people understand the impact of our teaching and our service and our research. This is a university in which we're making a difference. All of us are making a difference. And it's a university in which we pride ourselves on who we are and what we do. And it's a university where it's up to every single one of us, individually and together, to find those little ways that are going to make a difference so that our students want to come here, so that they're successful when they're here. It's a university that in the last few months I have found myself thinking of little things that people do that say this is a caring place and a special place. I was walking along in front of Weatherby the other day, and a staff member came by and walked out in the street on the way to work and picking up the paper cups on the ground and in the gutter, just because she said, you know, it doesn't look good there, does it? And it doesn't look good there. I know that recently, when we worked with the Division of Finance and Budget Office to eliminate the $100 fee so that our students wouldn't have to put $100 down to hold their class schedule, and we said, let's see if maybe they want to come to Western enough that we don't need that $100. Let's see if it'll work. And then a few weeks ago, we almost all took ulcer pills because we had 799 students who had not called in to confirm. It's the spirit of Western that made the difference in the folks in admissions and registration and other offices picking up that telephone and calling every one of those students, and I think they got all except maybe 50 or so of them, and personally talking to them and making sure that more than 400 of those students are now in your classes. They are enrolled, they were put back in the system, and they didn't show up here on campus only to find out that they forgot to call back in. That's the touch of caring. It's the thing that caused a staff member in front of Weatherby a few weeks ago to see a mother who was standing there trying to help this kid. He was a freshman, and he had on a suit and a tie, and he was all dressed up, and she was trying to help him put his tie on. And I don't wear a tie, but I know enough to know from my husband it's kind of hard to do this way. You do it this way. And the staff member came by and asked if he could help, and the mother said how frustrated she was. The young man had an appointment in the library he was going to interview for a job as a student worker, and he went in a suit, and he wanted to look his best, and finally the staff member just pulled his tie off and told this kid, stand here, now follow me. And he did this, and he walked in from tying his tie. I mean, those are caring. And just the other day, this letter came to the president's office, and I guess more than anything else for me, it says that who we are as a university and who we want to be is something that every one of us shape every day through our actions as individuals, and yet it's the total of all of our actions that somehow create the Western that we want to be a part of. This letter had on the top, a wedding is a day, a marriage is a lifetime, and I thought that's a strange thing to get. This one came to the president's office because it was addressed to Dear Western Kentucky University. And if you'll bear with me for just a minute, we'll end this meeting and go get something cold. It said, Dear Western Kentucky University, my fiance and I are at a retreat in Owensboro, Kentucky called Engaged Encounter. It is a trip that everyone has to make if they are getting married into a Catholic church. We have all been asked to write someone special that means a lot to us, and someone who had something to do with who and where we are today. I thought of a lot of different people, but nothing came to me as strong as my feelings were to my old alma mater, Western Kentucky University. Western Kentucky University has given me above and beyond anything that I ever thought I would receive in my whole lifetime. The university has given me friendship, love, social skills, and the ability to survive in the real world. I grew up around Western, and my mother has worked at the university all my life, and as of May 95, I completed my bachelor's degree in science. I think about my university every day, and I realize there will probably be no other place ever that will mean so much to me as Western Kentucky University. I just wanted to take this moment to say, thank you, Western Kentucky University, for all that you've given me, and I'm proud to be one of your alumni. This wasn't written to anybody. It was written to everybody. It was written about all of us in terms of the little things that we do that make our university what we want it to be and make it a place that is right for our students and for the future of our state and nation and the world. It makes it a place that we're proud to be part of as faculty and staff and administrators. The times ahead in higher education are going to be interesting ones. They're going to be filled with challenges, and I think that most of us that try to think about what's happening in higher education on a broader sense pretty much believe that never before have we been faced with changes that will so profoundly change the way in which we do our work. But it is the most wonderful time to be in the jobs we're in because we have a chance to shape it. It's not like being here 20 years from now or 30 years from now. We are here right in the midst of it. And it's something to reach out and embrace and there will be difficult times, but there has to be lots of conversation and lots of thinking and a lot of courage to be willing to try something a little bit different, and a strong will and determination to keep at it until we are the very best that we can be. And it will also take a lot of trust. It's the kind of thing that you have to trust in the motives of where we're all going, and if we mess it up, then let's drop back and punt again. But together we can do a lot of things. As you drive up this drive out here, there's that big stone thing, and it says, the Spirit makes the master. The Spirit does make the master, and the spirit at Western Kentucky University has to be one of can do. We can do what we have to do in higher education, and we can do it better than other people can do it, and we can do it in ways that make it fun and challenging to be a part of it. And we will have the opportunity to do it with a Board of Regents that I promise you I have come to respect greatly in terms of their commitment, their desire to do what this university is about, and their interest in having us help them understand clearly the path that we need to chart, and willingness to support us in getting there. Yes, there will be some hard times and some times that are a little bit shaky. But in the long haul, it's the people that are on this campus who are so lucky to be in positions of getting to shape it. I welcome you back to what I think will be one of the most exciting years we've had, with new president coming on board, with a board that wants our university to be as great as every one of us want it to be and know that we can make it. I especially want to thank all of you who have been so helpful to me, my colleagues who are a part of the executive committee, of the deans, all of you. I've had an interesting summer because I've just learned a lot of things, and in fact I haven't had a summer if you really want to know the truth. But it has been fun, and it has also been good for me because many times some of you have said, can I help? Now John O'Connor's never going to say that again because the last time he said it he got put to work, but I think that we have the opportunity to be the kind of family that Western has always said we are, and we welcome all of you who are new, and for those of us that are not new but part of the fabric of this university, let's go forward and have a great year, exciting time, and let the Spirit be the master. Thank you. Refreshments are in the back.